Okay, so I've sketched out my, that's about 2/3 up the page. Small house and 5 palm trees. I think we're ready to go now. So we're going to do, I'm just going to wet the sky, the paper with the sky. So nice and wet, no puddles. Take your time, make sure it's all wet. The first thing we have to do is think about the time of day we want it to be, because even though I've got mine as sort of midday perhaps, or you could do an evening one, which would be nice because you'd have those colours in the sand. Or you could even do a night one. That would be fun. But so I'm putting on plenty of water, and I'm looking under at it. I can see it shining, but I don't want it to be puddles. And we're going to leave that for a little while, for a couple of minutes, just to soak in. I've got a heating vent right over the top of mine, so mine is going to be a right pig. That's it, it's got a good shine. Yeah. Make sure every bit of that sky is covered. And put away that big brush, and then get a brush out that we're going to use. Okay. So I'm using size 12 pointed mop. But use whatever you want, whatever you're happy with. I didn't say what size of paper to get, so it doesn't. So choose your brush to suit your paper. I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to have a little bit of cobalt blue. But I'm going to have a little, it's going to be evening, so I'm going to go mix some lemon yellow. Now I'm going to use some rose opera rose. But if you haven't got that, use a little bit of a tiny titchy bit of alizarin crimson. Really tight, just put the tiny bits in. So I've got a sort of a corally colour there. And I'm going to get my brush and I'm going to wiggle it across the page, turning it and wiggling it. And then I'm going to get the cobalt blue, and I'm going to put in the cobalt blue, I'm going to put a tiny bit of Payne's grey, and then I'm just going to go in where I've put that orange or watercolour, and make some clouds, and then that will dry all blended without us doing anything else to it. I've got a bit come into the sea there, so with my tissue and a thirsty brush, which is a brush, clean brush, squeezed in your tissue so there's not too much water in it, and just pull it out. Looks like a tropical storm's coming, really, doesn't it? Okay, so that's going to dry away quite happily, and whilst that's drying, we will do the beach. I'm just going around the top of my house there. That corally colour that I use mixed is going to be part of the beach. And we're going to do a graduated wash from the second line down to the bottom of the page. So for this, you'll want quite a bit of the corally colour. And then one side of it, as you mix it, go more to the yellow, then very pinky there, and a mixture in the middle. So basically you've got 3 colours there to use. And we should also be using a bit of burnt umber. If you haven't got these colours that I used to make the coral, just use burnt sienna and a little bit of lemon yellow. That will work fine. It's just that I've got this opera rose or rose opera, and it's my new favourite. My sky is drying quite well. It does definitely look like a stormy sky. So if you're all ready, we'll press on with the beach. If not, I'll just stop for a minute or two. So whilst the sky is drying, I am wetting the paper. I want it to stay wet, so I'm wetting it several times, letting it soak in, and then re-wetting. Checking by using the light from a window or from a desk lamp to look at the sheen on the paper. That looks fairly good to me. But I've also mixed a mixture of, there's lemon yellow here, there's opera pink there, or you can use alizarin crimson, and in the middle there's a mixture of both, and I've just gone way over the top with the pink. Right, so you've got a yellow, a coral, and a pinky coral all ready to go. You're going to pick up the yellow and draw it across in a line. Come down a bit without putting any more paint on, just go gently across. Clean brush, middle colour, start over the yellow. If you haven't got this, use a bit of burnt umber, that works fine. So I want to change the feel of the beach as you come down. Then the real pinky stuff, put a bit of burnt umber in if you wish. And then do some brush strokes. By that I mean, instead of going just gently across, really push down on your brush just to give it a bit of texture, and you can get some burnt umber and just put it straight in. Up at the far end of the sand, you can get a little bit of burnt umber again, and just drop a few lines in and move your brush around. round in circle and then pulled that circle out, just to give it some texture. This is the point, if we've got any handy, where you could use some salt. I didn't tell you about salt. Just drop a few grains on the bottom bit of your painting. It might work, it might not, I don't know. Depends on how wet things are. And you can go into a little bit of burnt umber and just dot it. You can see where your salt is, so dot it away from your salt. And now we need to leave that to dry. And just getting some burnt umber to do some splat. And I'm just going to do it down the bottom. And I'm going to be very clever and cover up the top. I'm not knocking it hard, and I've got a size 8 brush. The bigger the brush, this is a long round side, the bigger the brush, the bigger the splat. So if you do it with the liner brush or a size 2 or something, you're going to get small splat. If you do it with a size 16, you're going to get huge blobs that cars will have to go around. So, and I don't want that like that. So I'm just going to pull those out. Just blend them in a bit. And I like this, but I'm just going to put, so I've got a clean brush. And I've totally knackered up my salt. Oh, I'm not supposed to say knackered. I'm totally messed up myself. And I just pulled that out so that it's blended a bit. It would have blended in anyway, but the salt is going, what have you done to me? That won't work. I just put a bit of raw sienna. It's basically dry brushing now on that top bit there. Not raw sienna, burnt umber. Then I think what I will do is I will turn it round and paint the roof. I'm going to use I use smaller brush, obviously. This is a size 4 long round, a Princeton one. And I'm going to use a bit of that burnt sienna and put in it a tiny bit of either rose opera or alizarin crimson, and it gets me a nice, as a sort of a rusty bricky coloured red, as opposed to a scarlet or something. So I'm just going to very gently just paint that in as a block. It's quite strange painting upside down. My roof's got a dip in it. The timbers have got old, a bit like me. turn it back up so I don't feel quite so giddy. I think we're going to have to use the hairdryer. So I'm going to pause the recording and then use the hairdryer. Never mind about the salt, because I don't think it's going to work. But if your salt looks as if it's working, keep going with it. Right, I'm going to pause. I'm now going to do the palm tree trunks. I'm using raw umber, which is a cooler brown, and I'm going to start on the left, and then with a bit of luck I shan't put my hand through it. And a thin line, a little bit thicker at the bottom, going up to the top, ready for the fronds. And again, I drew one behind here. This one goes behind the house. Actually, I think it should come in front. So I'm going to do the rest of it in a minute. I'm just stopping at the roof. This one comes to this side of the house. And this one in fact, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to say it's behind. It's been behind on all of them, so that's fine. So I've got 5 because you're supposed to have an odd number. And you could actually just do a little bit of grass stuff with the same colour around the bottoms. It just blends it into the sand, and then get a clean but thirsty brush and just blend it in. So it doesn't look as if we've just plonked trees there, which of course we have. If you want to be picky, you decide which side your sun is coming. Mine's coming from the left, and I'm doing a darker bit down each right of the tree. So it's almost neat raw umber. And I want to turn this paper around and I can't. I'm just doing a little line. I've got a very thin brush, and I'm using neat raw umber just to highlight the shadow. And this is going to be fun because I started in the wrong place. So just pull it down. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just gives it the idea that there's shadow on one side. We're going to do the same with the house. It's a white house, but the big bit of it, that bit, is going to be a very, very dilute Payne's grey, or even cobalt blue, because it's in the shade. So that's the next thing. So with the small brush, take a bit of the cobalt blue that I was using earlier. That's too small. That's got brown on it. I just want to make that in shadow. Remember, it does dry lighter, so even though I'm looking at it and thinking, my goodness, that's way too dark, hopefully it'll dry light enough. But just in case not, I'm just going to blot it gently with a bit of tissue, which just lifts a bit of the colour. And I've got a great big blob of water there, which I don't need. And we decide what colour our sea is going to be. I've been using cobalt blue, so I'm going to do my sea in cobalt blue because I don't really want to introduce another colour there. So this painting is quite stylised. There's nothing really realistic about it. So I'm not expecting to see waves on the sea or anything. It's just there. And of course, what have I done? What have we done? We've put trees in the way. I knew there was a reason I shouldn't do trees first. Try and get it as straight as you possibly can, because there's nothing more upsetting than a wonky horizon. I'm leaving a little bit of white space in between my trees and this bit of sea here, just so that it doesn't run in. And I'm going around the house roof. And down its wall. And remembering there's a bit of grass at the bottom of the tree. See? Make it difficult for myself. There's a bit there. There's some there. My trees are drying because, as I say, I'm underneath a reverse aircon, so it's drying. A bit more. You can put some variations in the sea if you want. It's entirely up to you. A bit of grass around that tree, so don't forget to. Right. I'm just going to do that a bit darker. See, it's fiddling time. And I notice, I'm going to have to turn this round. I notice I've gone over the line in that blue. So with a thirsty brush, wiggle it backwards and forwards, wipe it off, wiggle it backwards and forwards. I can get that horizon line flat again. That's better. I was feeling quite ill with that. That looked like a giant tsunami coming in. Okay. So we've just got a few details now. So, okay, we've let everything dry very well. My salt didn't work because I messed about with it. I'm going to do some windows and some doors. So I'm going to use a bit of Payne's grey, just a small brush, and put the windows and the doors, the door. And I don't think it's got a chimney. I don't think anybody lives there. Just darkening up the door. and the windows. Now, because the sun is shining from the left, I'm going to do a shadow under the eaves, I think, of this short wall of the house, just so that it creates some depth. So with the same Payne's grey, just gently paint in the shadow of the eaves, and again at the front here, just paint underneath where the roof ends and the wall begins. It gives the house a bit of depth. So the next bit is the fronds. So I'm using this, what is it? This number 4 long round. And I'm going to have 2 greens really. So I'm going to use a bit of cobalt blue and a bit of lemon yellow to make a bright green. And then a bit of Payne's grey and a bit of lemon yellow to make a darker green. So I've got 2 greens, dark green, that's Payne's grey and lemon yellow, and lighter green, which is cobalt blue and lemon yellow. And take the light colour. I'm working from left to right. I'm going to do some fronds. Don't do too many, otherwise it looks overdone. There's probably more on a palm tree than we think. So that's basically it. So it's sort of 3 longish ones. The side ones are a bit longer, and the top ones look as if they've had a haircut. So I'm going to darken those in a bit with the darker green. So same again. You can make the long ones that hang down as long as you like, really. I mean, obviously not down to the floor. So when you get to the top, because they're bent over away from you, you don't actually see them. See those fronds, they look shorter. And the last one of the light. I sort of curve my brush and push down in the middle and then let the knees off, and it gives you that shape. Clean your brush, well, you don't have to really. Go into the darker and just drop a little bit in. Now mine have dried because of the heater. So I was thinking about where the sun is, and so the dark side, yeah, these are dark, dry. I should have done 1 and 1. So these ones will need to be blended. So it's a thirsty brush. And just touching them with the dark, so that it And there's a bit of texture there. And I'll just put my hand in that nice leaf there. They're not leaves, are they? So and just there we go. If you think you want a few more after you've got the fronds in that you're done, put a few in now. Make sure they've all come from the top of the tree. And if you really want darker still, I'm going to have a couple of darker bits coming from the top and on the inside, just to give it a bit of shadow. So I'm just doing it on the inside where I put the first lot of dark on. I'm just give a little bit more dark there with the Payne's grey. My salt did nothing. That's because I messed about with it, so that's fine. I'm going to get my liner brush, a little bit of the burnt umber, very weak mixture, and just draw some sticky things on these bits of twigs that you see. Just little bits of twig, not too many, just here and there. And if you wanted, and you've got any of the darker sand left, just do some footprints. Just needs to be a bit darker than that lemon yellow. Don't make a thing of them, but it's just a texture on the sand. And I'm just going to darken up my palm trunks. Because they're a bit weak and watery. a few bit more of grass and stuff. And then we have to think about the shadow that the hut will cast. So with a light wash of Payne's Grey, I'm just going to do a shadow. So it's not very much at the left end of the house, but it increases out. And then we have to think, would any of these trees cast a shadow that we could put in? And I don't think they will. And the sun's coming from here, so it's hitting that, and then that's increasing in shadow. And I think if anything, there'd be one about there, very shallow shadow on the shallow diagonal. I think you could even get away with not doing it. And all that remains is a bird or two, if you wish. I'm going to have 3. That's not drying dark enough. Because being a solid object, it would be quite a dark shadow there. And I'm going to darken up the windows. And that under there. You've got to know when to stop. I'm just darkening that bit of the horizon of the sea there, just a touch. It probably won't make any difference. That's it, I think. This, oh, I'm going to put a little bit of Payne's Grey on the right side of the trunks. Yours look all right, leave them.